Sean, thanks for joining us on the show. First of all, you are originally an East Coast guy like us. You're from the D.C. area?
Yep.
Yeah, we're Frederick, Maryland, so we're right down the road from there.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Montgomery County. I grew up.
Montgomery County, too.
Where are you at? Where were you at in Montgomery County?
Olney, Silver Spring area.
Dude,
Yeah.
Damascus. So I'm like 20 minutes from there.
We played you guys Sherwood High School. We played.
Oh, dude, you went to Sherwood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I read that.
The county that never fucking got snow days. We were always 2 hours.
Oh, and dude, and now if they even think about snow, they'll shut it down for a month. Like,
Well,
it's,
I heard that they're not doing that because now they've learned remote learning works.
yeah, all the kids were like, well, this is bullshit. Like, we can't even get snow days now because it's a fucking computer.
Oh, they're toying with the idea that snow days are now a thing of the past.
Oh, man.
Have a system ready to go. All right, we're going to just do remote learning today.
Well, and it makes me happy to be old enough to have graduated before that was.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
I have fond memories of my
There's
snow
so
days.
many things that I'm thankful for that we grew up with, not just, like home video and all these things, but now it's like snow days is going to be a thing I was thankful for. Just not going to school sometimes was something I remember from my youth.
Well, it's funny. My fiance's from Western PA, and she's like, I fucking hate snow days because of the, she said I hated adding days on in the summer.
Sure.
Right, yeah, there's a makeup date because they always allowed us a couple, and if you went over, it was like, boom, you got to
Well, I
start
feel like
making
in
it up.
Western PA, you're not getting just one snow day.
Oh, no.
You're gonna get like a snow month. It's wild that you're from the East Coast. I mean, it's.
I know, that's so weird. Damascus, that's unbelievable.
So did you get your start here on like the East Coast, or did you?
So I started. I mean, not professionally, but all my training came through the East Coast.
Did you do like Olney Theater or any of that, or?
No, I was so bummed that I never did Olney Theater, but I did. I did stuff at school, Sherwood Elementary, Farquhar Middle, a little bit in Farquhar Middle School, but mostly Sherwood High School. Like I just hit down running in Sherwood High School. I did Godspell like the fall I got in there, and was in all the musicals, Rock and Roll Revival. If you remember Sherwood High School's Rock and Roll Revival, which is kind of a big deal. Did all those. Then I did community theater, Sandy Spring Theater Group. We did like the Diary of Anne Frank. We did that in a really cool old church. So people, when you walked in, you walked up steps and went in the attic, and the people were all just sitting there.
Oh,
so
wow.
anything that happened, like was happening right there in front of you, which was really cool. So you're like in the attic with the family. So that was really cool. We did. I did children's plays and all that kind of stuff, and then I got a scholarship. So my dad lived out west, and so California schools were nuts for in-state. Like I think I went to UCLA for 4 years, and I think I paid less than $5,000
for 4 years
for my dad.
Holy shit!
Just tuition, but still.
Yeah, that's how much textbooks cost at the end of a few years of school.
Exactly.
But then I was either going to go there, or try to go to Catholic U with Father Hartke and that whole. And so there's like a line. You either go to Catholic U and go straight to Broadway, or you go to the West Coast and then you try to get into movies and stuff like that.
Sure.
And it bit me in the butt because like 5, 6, 7 years into it, they were like, "Are you New York theater trained?" And you're like, no, you know what I mean? But that's where and now it's London or New Zealand are the hot things. Like look at all the award nominated movies, and there's one person from either New Zealand, Australia, or London or the UK. There's and they're all playing Americans.
Thanks, Peter Jackson. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot of musicals you did. Are you a vocalist as well?
Yeah, we won SPEBSQA, the Society and Preservation for Barbershop.
Well, it rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, it does. Society Preservation for the encouragement of barbershop quartet singing in America.
Hell yes.
And me and these three guys, we did it in junior year, lost, but we won in my senior year.
What's your range?
Yeah, I'm gonna say tenor.
I was a melody.
Oh, okay.
Melody.
Okay.
So I guess tenor.
Yeah.
Tenor is the highest, then treble and bass. But I just always sang the melody. We had a group of that. I was in chorus. So I did that a lot. I just didn't really pursue singing training when I got out here. I'm kind of bummed I didn't. I wish I did. and like maybe did an instrument, because I've seen a lot of a lot of actors when you're sitting on set and they're just fiddling around with their guitars and singing,
Sure.
Yeah.
I wish I kind of kept it up, but I do some little bits here and there, but nothing since I came out here really.
So you chose to head out west and pursue film, and obviously you've done innumerable amounts of character acting work and roles in so many movies. And you kind of bill yourself as that guy. On your Instagram, you're called that guy for good reason. A lot of people recognize you from so many different movies.
Well, that actually came from Scott Gimple, who is a friend of mine, who is the showrunner, or was the showrunner for years, of The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Good friend of mine, and he was sitting around and he just said, man, you don't even, live the dream. He's like, you live the dream. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, you've literally done everything.
Oh, yeah.
You've done kid shows, Disney shows, Nickelodeon shows. You've done horror movies. You've done, big budget TV shows, big budget movies, small, weird, independent movies.
Michael Bay commercials.
Yeah. He goes, commercials. He goes, you've literally done everything. I mean, you are that guy. And he goes, that should be your email in your tag. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome.
Hell yeah. Dude, you're the Got Milk guy. You're the original Got Milk guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Here's
that
email
should be
him.
your tag.
It wasn't just that commercial. There was 4 shot initially. There was one with mine, and then so only 2 really made it on the air. If you remember, I don't know if you guys are old enough.
Oh, I do.
There was the other one with the dad and the baby. Remember the baby had kind of like the spiked up hair?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
They did the Italian music from the Clint Eastwood movies. That
Oh, yeah.
Wow, wow, wow.
and they were both staring at each other, looking at the milk, and the little bit sippy cup. So those 2 came out at the same time, mine and his. And that one ran pretty well too, but mine blew up within a week. It won a commercial, the Clio, within like 2 weeks. And I couldn't walk down the street.
I almost feel like Lin-Manuel, the guy from Hamilton, owes you some kind of royalties, because no one knew who Alexander Hamilton was again until that commercial.
Well, the funniest thing was, well, first of all, that was an in-state commercial. That was called local commercial. So that thing was showing night and day, all day, and I was getting $1,100 a quarter.
Wow.
So that means after
Get that milk money.
Yeah, with
Right.
taxes, it's literally with taxes and my agents, and I was making like $400 every 3 months, and that thing was running all over the place. Can't complain. Spielberg saw it. That's how I got Twister.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
But the funny thing about when Hamilton came out, I didn't know anything about the duel until I did the commercial either. Really, I mean, I heard about it, but I didn't know much about it.
Sure.
So when Hamilton's getting big, Leslie Odom Jr. is going, I don't know anything except for that 90s commercial. There's a Today Show clip, and they show my commercial. And he goes, that's the only way I knew. So in all these interviews, he's like, I just remember that commercial from the 90s. And, and then I don't know if you guys know, he did a shot-for-shot remake for the show. They did a shot-for-shot remake of my commercial, Leslie Odom Jr. playing my part.
Oh, hell yeah.
They said, got Hamilton.
Wow.
And so we were pursuing that and going, listen, he's mentioning my client. My manager's like, he's mentioning my client. He's talking about my client. It was, it'd be so fun to like have him, go to, you guys take him to New York. You have a picture with him and Leslie Odom Jr. together. It'd be so good. It would be great publicity. And they go, we don't need any publicity. We're sold out.
We're Hamilton.
Yeah. What are you talking about? And we were like, okay, good for me. Maybe good publicity for me.
I'm sorry, you thought I was talking about you.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay. You guys have, you don't need the publicity, but it would be fun.
Wouldn't it be fun? Can't we just have some fun?
Yeah,
Right? I don't know.
Can you have a really fun Instagram post and pay a couple and have me come and see it? No?
That's good stuff. Mostly you're probably known for being Roach, probably, right? As your t-shirt and People Under the Stairs, which we love that role.
Our 30th anniversary. You can get these on my Linktree and my Instagram or Facebook or TikTok bio.
Yeah, we love the role of Roach. I'm curious, though, what is the most random movie that you've been recognized for? As you get that guy on the street and people are like, oh, you're that guy from that movie. There has to be one person.
What's happening now? See, I got into TikTok right when quarantine hit, and I've got a couple 100,000 followers. It's been a blast. I get to be creative. People want to hear all the stories of all the movies, which I'll do all these fun skits, and they don't get any views, and then I'm like, let me tell you a story about Twister, and it's like hundreds of thousands of views. Like everyone just wants to hear that stuff. It's fun.
Sure.
So last year, right before quarantine, I did an interview for a movie I did called Tammy and the Teenage T-Rex.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They were doing a re-release, the gorier version.
Right, the R-rated version finally being seen.
The R-rated version, right. And so I did an interview for that DVD extra. And wow, that thing must have, like, people really appreciated it. I think also because it was one of Paul Walker's first movies.
Yes.
Denise Richards' first movies.
Yep.
And it's just bonkers.
The one I'm getting a lot, And just that's so weird because I'll get people like, what about Jury Duty?
Honestly, when we were talking about doing this interview, that was the first movie I pointed out. I was like, no, he was the guy they thought was the serial killer in Jury Duty.
Yeah, but Sean didn't get to pee on a fake Tyrannosaurus Rex in Jury Duty.
No.
And then get his guts ripped out.
Fair. But he got to lose to Stanley Tucci. I mean, like...
That's my favorite. I have two good stories now that you mentioned Stanley Tucci. But my favorite thing was when I was sitting there and I had done People Under the Stairs, but I worked with Greg Nicotero. Right?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Now Walking Dead fame. But so we're getting close to my death shot. And I'm going, do I need to do like a fitting or some kind of cast or something to like, they usually would do a body cast and they would do something special. Something. And I go, and then they're like, okay, we're ready to do your death scene. I go, I've literally done nothing. They go, oh, it's okay. Here's your preparation. There's just a bucket of guts. And they said, here's your special thing. It was a black t-shirt. Black t-shirt, and then my regular shirt. And then they go, okay, so when we say you're just going to pick up the guts and hold them and then drop them. And I was like, but you're literally just going to see that I have a t-shirt on underneath. And they go, no one's going to look at that kind of thing. So I'm just holding... I think guts
like a pile of guts, yeah.
Onto a horse because they're so huge. Like these couldn't fit in my body. Like a third of those things couldn't have fit in my body at all.
Yeah, for that death scene, it looks like you gained 30 pounds in like 1 second.
Right, just like tons of guts that come out. And I just dropped them, and I just remember laughing so hard going, wow, this is like, what a low budget movie.
But to be fair, if that's the thing that's taking a viewer out of the experience of Tammy and the T-Rex, then they weren't there for the movie to begin with.
I love that was their preparation. And I love one of my favorite all-time movies is Sleepaway Camp. Now I'm friends
so
with
good.
Those. I mean, I just did a show with a high-end actor last week, and I was telling him about it. He's like, how have I not heard this? I go, you got to see it. I go,
that final moment of Sleepaway Camp.
The whole thing is insanely perfect in terms of the fact that it's a summer camp, what we associate joy, fun, sunshine. Everybody who is working there, the kids that are there, the counselors, despise each other. They hate
that horrible cook.
They hate the kids hate the counselors, the kids hate each other. It's so awesome. And all with the beautiful flourish of Brooklyn accents on everybody.
That's the hot sauce on that
I think
movie,
my favorite thing about Sleepaway Camp is that it took just brutalized murder among kids to a new level.
Yeah.
Right? Like you'd seen the camp movies with like older teenagers being brutally murdered, but like Sleepaway Camp was the first time it was like a 12-year-old that got thrown into a bathroom stall with a bunch of bees.
Right. Because even in Friday the 13th, it's always the counselors getting ready for the kids to get there or something. And very rarely are the kids actually around danger.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's so great. And that's a great one. And Stanley Tucci, you mentioned him. So in Jury Duty, we did Jury Duty. Mm-hmm. So then years later, and people don't know about this. I love his new show, by the way. I don't know if you've seen this, Stanley Tucci in Italy. But people don't realize that the way he really just bumped to the next level was him and Tony Shalhoub did the movie called Big Night. Phenomenal movie. They both wrote and directed it. And so I was there with another movie, a short film. God, what was I in Sundance? And we were all at Sundance. And it was the year that he won. Him and Tony Shalhoub won a lot of awards for Big Night. And I saw him and I said, hey, Stanley, hey, it's Sean. And he goes, oh, yeah. We worked together before. And I go, yeah. Remember on Jury Duty? And he just leans over and goes, don't talk about that shit here. It's so great, man.
Hell yeah. I mean,
I'm waiting for a high-class movie about beautiful Italian food. It's like, we don't need to bring that.
No.
Right.
Let's leave that shit at home.
Well, and it's like, on the Pauly Shore scale, which it's a low bar.
That's a downward scale, right? He started with Encino Man.
Right. It starts with Encino Man. Yeah, it just goes down
it's
from there.
It's a slope.
Yeah, so I was like second to last.
It may be plateaued with like In the Army now.
Yeah. He used all the 3 skinny character actors that ran into each other all the time.
Sure.
Dick, me, and Kevin West in Biodome.
Sure.
Us 3 always worked together all the time.
Okay.
And everybody knew us 3 as the 3 quirky, skinny guys. Me and Kevin were really good friends, and Andy and I were very friendly. We weren't back then, but we became friendly later.
Not to go back to Tammy and the T-Rex, but I don't know if you caught the Valentine's Day marathon that Joe Bob Briggs did where they showed that movie.
I got a lot of messaging.
Yeah, he talked directly about you for at least a couple minutes after your kill scene.
Oh, yeah.
Really? What'd he say?
Basically, he talked about how you were more or less just holding your guts on the outside of your T-shirt.
Yep.
Made no sense.
But yeah, it was basically a cut break after your kill scene and went back to Joe Bob. And he talked about you for a couple minutes.
It's
scene.
hilarious. It made no sense.
Oh, it's great.
It made no sense. But that's my sleepaway camp.
Sure. Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Sure.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, I'm old enough to remember Tammy and the T-Rex coming out like on VHS, and I'm old enough to have rented that movie. And so like when it got popular again this year, I was like, wait. I don't want to sound like a hipster, but
yeah,
like
I don't remember so many cut off heads in the original.
Yeah, exactly.
Version.
That's where I was at with it. I was like, I don't remember it being this violent at all, but
yeah,
God bless it.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about how you've done almost everything, but I remember reading somewhere where you said you've never done a Western.
That's right.
And you would love to do a Western.
Well,
is that still the case? Is it still the dream?
Well, someone said, well, it's not really true. Well, it's up for debate. So I did a movie called Ride with the Devil. It was, I always tend to do.
Is that with Tobey Maguire and?
I tend to do like the biggest direct. Like I did Tom Hanks' least performing movie at the box office, which was that thing you do. Yes, it stood the test of time.
Yeah, you're the heckler.
For worst box office openings, Ang Lee's worst box office opening. Like for some reason, I have a little curse that way. But it was a movie called Ride with the Devil. Mm-hmm. Yes, Tobey Maguire, Skeet Ulrich, Jewel. It was the big deal because Jewel was in it. And that was about guys running through the Southwest. And I played a drunk guy in a barn, and it ended up getting cut out. But James Seamus, who's huge at Focus Features, he's basically the president of Focus Features, sent me the scene and a beautiful handwritten letter saying, we loved it, you were amazing, blah, 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 blah. So that was technically a Western. They were they were kind of revolutionary. I don't know. They weren't like full-on cowboy. I mean, Skeet looked like one. But people are like, well, you did it, but you didn't make it in, and it wasn't like full-on cow. So have I done the full-on cowboy high noon? No. Like that's what I'm gunning for,
That's still the dream.
Fair.
That's still the dream, is to do the Western.
We've been kind of obsessed with Western horror.
Yeah.
In the vein of like Bone Tomahawk.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw that out there. You should shoot for a Western horror.
All right.
Because it's a genre that I didn't really know how much I needed it until I saw a couple
until you see it, and then you're like, fuck, zombies and cowboys?
Or they just work really well, like physical isolation, environment, like no cell phones, can't talk to people. It's just the perfect environment to put people in horrendous situations.
Yeah. No, that's really good. That sounds really fun. But I think to me that would still lean me into horror. I need the
it's got to be Western.
Yeah, I need to do the
Well, let me ask you this. What kind of character in a Western do you think that you would... Like, what's your dream role in a Western? Are you thinking more like...
dream role would be like, I know people immediately would be like, the salty, the...
prospector.
Everyone's salty in the West.
And I did play a funny prospector on like a comedy kid show. But again, that doesn't count. But I would love to play like the Iago of Othello, like the guy who seemed like the guy that's helpful to maybe the main lead, but he's actually screwing with him, and it turns out to be like he's causing all the damage, you know, because in Othello, Iago causes all the damage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not really, you know, Othello's fault. His fault is that he believes him, you know?
Right. Yeah, Iago's just lying at every turn about everything. So do you find yourself drawn to playing darker characters?
Well,
like
I mean, that's just a character I've always wanted to play. Everyone said, if you ever played Shakespeare, what would you want to play?
Right. The bad guy. Duh.
Yeah. I love Iago. I think he's just the best written of Shakespeare's kind of characters in that way. Speaking of, a friend of mine said back in the day, like 10 years ago or whatever, he saw Christopher Plummer as Iago and James Earl Jones as Othello. And I was like,
holy shit.
Dude, he goes, the greatest piece of theater, I think.
I mean, yeah, Christopher Plummer could read scripture and I would be.
Yeah. But I think that would just be fun, or else, you know, I mean, obviously if I did get the cackling, you know, gang member guy, I think I'd like to be part of the bad guy posse.
Hell yeah.
In some way.
So kind of like you're rolling Tammy and the T-Rex, but in a Western.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. I'm into that.
I mean, I feel like I could see you playing like the kindly like town doctor.
Yeah.
You know, like Brad Dourif in Deadwood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the conflicted doctor.
Yes. Or I could be the nice homesteader guy that turns out to like save the day, even everybody thinks the guy. Kind of like Jeremy Davies in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I think this is the perfect time to segue into our new favorite segment.
Yeah.
Help Sean Whalen get a ticket
Southwest
on Southwest Airlines.
First of all, I applaud you flying Southwest because that's the only airline that will never get hijacked.
That's true.
Ever. Like, people that fly Southwest will not put up with some dude with a box cutter. Like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. People, you're right. So I'm flying up to San Francisco to do some final touches on it's a business trip for my, a script I wrote called Crust with my writing partner. He's an old friend, dear friend. And it's a horror comedy. It's about a lonely guy at a laundromat, ex-child actor, sad, depressed, who takes all the leftover socks from the dryer, and he uses them, you know, to wipe off his sweat, sneezes in him. If he gets cut, he uses them to wipe his blood. He jerks off in them, keeps them in a pile in the corner. And one day he gets bullied and he cries in them, and it comes to life as a sock monster in a little bath.
A crusty sock monster,
and it's called Crust, and he looks like a little half boogie with little black eyes, and he jumps up over the thing, and he starts killing for him. But I don't know that he's killing people. Like kind of Little Shop of Horrors, but unlike Little Shop of Horrors, when I do find out, because I've been so depressed and he's going after my enemies, I kind of dig it like Willard, you know? And so I love Willard. I descend into the Willard kind of madness using my sock monster to get rid of all my enemies. But it all takes
I love it. A little bit of Willard, a little bit of Basket Case.
Look, I say it. I do say it, and a little bit of Godfather. You know?
Oh,
hell yeah!
But anyway, so we're going up there to tighten up the script. First time I've been on a plane for a year. It's gonna be weird. Like I'm gonna look like a hazmat. It's ridiculous. My
dude, do it, man. You cannot.
I can't be too safe. I mean, that's the thing. And people are like, why do you worry about that? It's like, my fiance is immunocompromised with that. And it's like, the downside is for me, I'll look like a jerk and a fool. The other downside is she could get super sick and get in the hospital. You know?
Yeah. Well, dude, even when it first started last March, when shelter in place and everything changed, I remember reading something that was like, look, guys, worst case scenario, this shit is totally useless and no one gets it.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, the shit is the opposite of useless and no one gets it.
Yeah. And I'm sure, and there's so much information. I get it, but I'd rather just look like a fool. I got my face shield. I got everything going on. You know?
Oh, do it up.
Yeah.
So we're going to help you.
Yeah. So how it works is I bought early bird check-in. So I should hopefully get in the A section. And that's only 30 people. The super business class is 1 through 15. So you guys have to pick a number between 15 and 30. If I get section B, I'll call out another. I'll have to say another thing.
We'll adjust.
But right. So what I was thinking is you each pick a number between 15 and 30. The closest one, I'm going to send you guys a signed Roach photo, and whoever one of you guys gets the closest gets to pick however you want to distribute that to one of your listeners.
We love it.
Yep.
I love it.
So 3 minutes to check in.
Okay, great. And if there's anything I love more than winning things, it's picking numbers. So I'm in.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if people can you be good at picking numbers? Can you be like, is there someone that you know that we go, oh, pick a number between what, and they always win? Like I've never even heard of such.
Maybe you could be bad at picking numbers.
I think you could only be bad at picking numbers.
But you could also be a dick about picking numbers and be the person on like Price is Right that picks like $1 above the other person's guess, right? There's that.
Yeah. But speaking of picking numbers, we have to see who gets to choose first. So I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10 right now. Who wants to pick first?
8.
I was going to go with 5.
8.
Okay, the number was 3.
All right. So I'm going to pick first a number between 15 and 30.
Okay,
right?
So we're not there yet. We're almost there. We got 2 minutes, but that is the game.
Cool. And the loser gets to fly to a destination of Sean's choice.
Yes.
On his dime, he's going to get a plane ticket for the loser. They don't get to pick where they're going or how long they stay.
I think they should also have to go as luggage.
Go in the pet compartment.
You should have to be checked into the non-pressurized part of the cabin.
And of course, not on Southwest.
Oh, no.
Fuck no, you have to fly Delta.
or Spirit.
I did that once last year, and I literally sat down and was like, "Is this a joke? Like my legs couldn't even fit. I'm not."
Oh yeah,
I am like 6'3", and I can't do Spirit. I mean, I have done Spirit, but I can't do Spirit.
My legs hurt, and I said, "Well, what happens when they lean back?" And the guy was like, "They can't lean back. Like the chairs can't lean back."
No. This is an extended yoga exercise, is what this is.
It was the worst experience on flying, but luckily it was like a 2-hour flight. So I thought to myself, I said, okay, I understand if it's like but I would never do like 5 hours or anything like that. I couldn't.
All right, is it time for us to pick a number? All right, I'm going to go ahead and pick 22.
18.
Those numbers are close to each other.
I'm sticking with the 8.
I think we're good at this.
Who picked what now?
I picked 22.
I picked 18.
And the number is 27.
Sean was asking if people are good at picking numbers. I think I might be good at picking numbers. I'm certainly not bad at picking numbers.
I feel like this is the point where Jordan abandons his career and tries to become a psychic.
I'm going to start a new podcast where I pick numbers for an hour.
I'm actually a little bummed though that's a kind of a crappy number. I did it right on the minute. I thought I'd be in like down in the teens.
Once again, man, it gets wild in the Southwest streets.
Don't blame us. We're just picking numbers here.
Well, this interview's shot now. I'm so furious.
I know. I mean, like you could storm out, but where are you going to go?
Where am I going to go?
Exactly.
But yes, I'll send you a signed Roach picture, and you get to decide how it gets distributed to your listeners.
Awesome. Some lucky person out there is going to go home with that. That's awesome. In fact, speaking of Roach, I'd love to talk a little bit about People Under the Stairs. We are in our 30-year anniversary of the movie, which is awesome. It's still a classic. We were talking about, we did a episode a while back about political subversion in horror, and we talked quite a bit about People Under the Stairs and the message, and a great film for that reason. And I'm really happy to see that Jordan Peele, I think, is producing a remake, which I think now is the time for a People Under the Stairs remake.
We don't really know his involvement in it. He just said he's behind it. So, I mean, hopefully he's going to direct it, which would be awesome. I mean, I'm praying, and all the fans are so like, dude, you must have a cameo. And I would
love that. Seems to be his MO though. When he's with Candyman, he's definitely bringing back original cast members, and Jordan Peele is above all else a fan of the genre, and I think he's gone above and beyond to prove that. So it wouldn't shock me if you get a call like, "Hey, you're Roach. You have to be in this."
Well, a lot of people were like, "You should play Roach," and I was like, and my manager's like, "Don't count yourself out." I said, "I'm not counting myself out." I said, if they stick with the original script, he was a kid. He was 15, 16.
Yep.
And I said, I was dead, and it doesn't seem like that kind of. So, of course, if Jordan Peele wants to put me back as Roach, for sure, I'm down. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it seems less likely there. But if the funniest thing is, I got aware of that when he mentioned it in Vanity Fair. He had 2 movies that were his inspiration, and it was so weird because my fiance had never seen Rosemary's Baby. And when it ended, like, she was so quiet, and I thought, it was, you know, because their 60s, 70s movies were slow, you know? And I said, did you? She goes, oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. Well, he said Rosemary's Baby and People Under the Stairs were his 2 inspirations for Get Out. Rosemary's Baby, in the fact that it's, you know, you look around and go, wait, something's weird. And we as the audience know it's weird. And you know it's weird, but we all don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, we all, it's not like we know it's weird and we're watching you discover. We all know something's weird, but we don't know what it is. And then obviously for People Under the Stairs, as Brandon Adams said, he goes, I've never seen a little black kid save the day, you know?
Yeah.
So, and that was funny when I put that out, that he was doing that on social media. Someone goes, oh, is it going to be like blacks are the good people and whites are the bad people? And I go, yeah, like the first one?
Yeah, like the original movie.
The original movie. It was the first time, really, in horror, we're really in movies that I could think of in modern times where it's such a stark portrayal of white people as the antagonist. And it was an important statement to be made at the time that, like, yeah, man, suburbia is fucked up.
Yes, absolutely. And it wasn't just like on a direct, like, they're doing bad things to people, which they are, but also on a larger scale, economically, they're the bad people in this film.
They're just bad. Right. And it's just so funny that Wes kind of went there. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Wes was never afraid to go there. And I'm curious, when you made that movie, what were the sets like? I mean, you're cramped in between walls most of the time. Your character's, like, running around throughout the house. What were those sets like?
I was never in the main house, me personally, because they were all used for external shots. We were at I think it was Renmar Studios or whatever, and we had a big, we had a set. I mean, the set was kind of big for the houses and the little rooms and stuff, and the hallways were pretty big. And even between the walls wasn't that tight, you know? That was the funnest. I remember Brandon and I having the funnest time because they go, all right, the Steadicam guy's going to follow you. And we came in one day and there was this huge maze. There's just a maze. We're just and they had my little bedroom with the Christmas lights, you know, where I slept. And it was really, really cool. It wasn't that cramped, actually. But because the house part was pretty big, you know. But in terms of the sets, they were just really, really cool. And then obviously they had to blow up and stuff like that. My funny set story that I tell all the time is when I did my first scene and I'm with AJ and I'm doing the whole showing the tongue and meeting those guys. And then I dive through the walls and Everett comes in and shoots the gun. I did the first take and it felt great. Like I saw him. I was so scared. I dove in there quick. We had a little trouble at that at first, like really practicing because that creaky thing might get caught on one of my things. I couldn't dive. But I dove in there and it was really cool. And the explosion of the gun went boom, like really loud. And I said, Wes, I thought that was great. And he just goes, come here. And so he goes, watch this. And it looks really good. The scene's playing out. And right when he busts in the door, you hear me go, oh shit. And I go, I didn't even know I said it. And he goes, yeah, you can't talk. So I took the prosthetic tongue and I put it in my mouth and I never took it out the rest of the movie. So then I talked the whole time, but I could never be understood because I had that thing shoved in my mouth.
So that works for you because you were allowed to emote in a way that was natural to you, but you were able to basically plug yourself up so you couldn't talk.
So having that in my mouth the whole time
that makes a lot of sense. So you've worked with Rob Zombie a couple times now, and
it's weird. I always compare him to Wes because they're so similar.
They have a really similar vision.
And something I've said on this podcast a number of times that maybe you can attest to is that it feels like Rob Zombie really cultivates a family with the people that he works with, because I see so many people return to work with him again and again.
Yeah, he's a cinephile and not just horror. Like the first night I hung out with him when we were doing Halloween 2, he was talking about Truffaut and all these Fellini and all these European black and white movies. Like he's really, really very well educated in film. And then on the other side, he's like a huge monsters dork. You know what I mean? Like he'll be like, I have the night from the Munsters hallway in my house. You know? He loved that stuff.
Yeah.
I guess him and Howard Stern talk about it all the time, how huge fans they were of the Munsters. So
the Munsters. Interesting.
And so chill. And then the best thing, what I did last time was when I did 3 from Hell, he had 2 scenes. One, me meeting Sherry's character.
Baby, yeah.
Meeting Baby. And then this murdering one. And I was kind of playing it kind of wide-eyed and dumb and like, and he goes, I like what you're doing better. Because the second scene was like, hey, you bitch, suck my dick, right? Whatever, saying all this stuff. And so it's really more justified her killing me because I'm being really misogynistic and gross. And he goes, I kind of like what you're doing and let's play with that. So him and me and Sherry sat and wrote that whole grape soda thing. So we just pitched, we were going around and rewrote it all together. And it made it a little funnier, the whole soda thing, but it also makes it her a lot scarier because she's not killing me for any reason,
And I always like that about that scene. I feel like the way you play it a little like you say, wide-eyed. She kind of like ropes you in, and she knows where this whole thing's going from the very beginning, and you're just along for the. I love how that's played out.
And that was all because he said, "I liked your choice in the first thing. Let's go with it." And we're just sitting around, and then I thought, he goes, "God, I love this scene." He goes, "It's different from any other. It's different from any other scene in the movie." And I was like, "Oh, that's the kiss of death." Because it's really fun to shoot on the last night. I was there the last night of filming. But in the editing room, you might be going, this was different than anything in the movie. I don't need this,
Sure.
And I remember Rob at the premiere going, no, dude, I kept every word of what you guys did. Like, I kept that whole thing. And, I loved the way that scene turned out. It was so much fun.
Me too. And it may be different, but it's also reminiscent of the scene from Devil's Rejects when they rope in some of the musicians at the hotel and some of the similar ways she gets the musicians sort of kidnapped and all huddled up together. So I feel like it's the same kind of approach. It feels like it's an extension of that idea.
Yeah. So, and that was fun. And she was amazing. And I ended up sending them, because he has jean jackets with pins and stuff all over. I sent them grape soda pins, coats, and she was like, I remember at the premiere, she comes over, she goes, Rob wouldn't let me wear my grape soda pin. And she had this really pretty dress or whatever.
But before we let go, the last thing I wanted, Acting Class Weekly, your podcast. Tell me about it.
It was great. It was, I was at a coffee shop. I saw 2 women wearing Star Trek uniforms, and I was with my fiance, and I walk and I go, I gotta talk to these people. I go over and I go, so where's the Comic-Con? It was like Wednesday in the afternoon. I'm like, where's the Comic-Con? I'm like, oh, it's not. It's a podcast that we do. And I go, really? She goes, yeah. It's a podcast we do, The Tomorrow Show with Kevin Undergaro, who is Maria Menounos' husband. Who I didn't know that at the time. Came up, he goes, you're famous, right? You're an actor? And I go, yeah. So we all start talking. I was doing a play in LA, and I said, I told him the concept. He loved it. He said, I'd love to come. Maria would love to come. It'd be so much fun. Let's do it. So we started talking. He ended up coming to the play. Then he had me on his podcast, The Tomorrow Show, and we were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about, but one thing we did get into is the idea that when people come to LA now, they really look for nice cars, nice apartments and stuff like that to be actors. I go, that's so wrong. Like, you need to come and find the room in the Airbnb, you find the dump, you have a crappy car or Uber.
A nice soft couch.
I go, we all have to start at the bottom, and your money should be going to your acting classes and your not to your nice car and your kick butt apartment, It did not be the focus in any way, shape, or form. So he loved that. And he said people's response was great. So we kept talking, and he ran a thing called AfterBuzz TV. And he just said, I just think you have a wealth of knowledge that you can just give people. And he said, I'm putting you with my best person, Roxy Stryer. She's an amazing podcaster. And we crafted this show where we would just break it down, piece by piece, and just little subjects that would come up in acting. And we did it for I think we did it a year and a half, and then COVID hit and the studio got shut down. And I don't know at what capacity, if that's going to come back in that form. I may be starting a new podcast called Character, where I just talk to character actors about, their character as people and their character as their character career and how they've learned stuff. But I've met like 3 or 4 people who moved to LA because of the podcast.
Sure. Wow, really?
That's awesome.
Well, because here was the thing, is you get the same thing. The parents, whoever, spouses, whatever, go, it's crazy. First of all, the reason I was successful, I can say this hands down, I never, ever did any analyzation of the odds or how hard it was or anything. I came out and I was blissfully ignorant. I just had fun. And because I was having fun, things just happened the same way they did in high school, And then now, people will go, the statistics of how many people work. I didn't know any of that stuff. And I don't think that's a good idea. So I say just do a 2-year plan.
It's like Han Solo. Never tell me the odds.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of like that approach, though, is like, don't focus so much on the metrics of it. Focus on fucking doing
the craft.
Well, it's also, it's really a 3-year plan because you need a year in your town, like wherever you are. Let's say you're in Tennessee or whatever. Do local theater, do stuff, get some student films, do as much as you can there. Save up money, then come. And when you come, live crappy, live lean, live mean. Jenna Fisher talks about that in her book, like live lean, mean, like you're not there to enjoy Los Angeles. You're there to work and do it 100% for 2 years. And then after 2 years, either you're progressing. Like for me, after 2 years, I was moving into the Sunday company of the Groundling Theater. So I was progressing and it made sense.
I didn't know you were a groundling.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. With Lisa Kudrow and everything. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Tim Bagley and those guys. Yeah. So it made sense for me to continue. And I was able to quit my waiting job, right after, like 2 years after that, because I got people under the stairs and, things are moving forward. And then after 2 years, if nothing's happening, you don't like the lifestyle that comes with it. Because it's not about just it's liking the world and then the lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If that's not working, then you can go home and go, well, I tried 100%. Mm-hmm. And there's no downside to that. And I believe that's good for anything you want to try. Being a musician, going, I really love accounting. Whatever you want to do. So do it for like 2 full years, 100%, and then evaluate. Don't evaluate every second along the way. Just do it at the end of the 2 years and go, this makes sense, or it doesn't, because everybody can afford 2 years. I remember reading Kirk Douglas's book, and I remember this paragraph being like 1.5, maybe 1 sentence, the whole thing in the book. And he goes, and then I had tuberculosis for 3 years. Anyway,
Yeah, you just yada, 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 a whole 3-year disease.
I had yada, yada, yada 3 years later. Yeah,
I had tuberculosis and I beat its ass because I'm Kirk Douglas.
But I mean, that's the kind of thing. And that's also the kind of thing about this. 2 years. I mean, we can do 2. You know what I mean? Like, but that's the funny thing was I thought, everybody can afford 2 years. And I came up with a character actor, Chris Darga. We pitched it. And then he kind of dropped out and started doing other stuff. But I've been really hyping this idea of this 2-year plan, because then there's no parent, there's no one that can go, if it doesn't work, I'll be back in 2 years. I mean, what will I be, 24, 26? I mean, come on.
Worst case scenario, my life starts at 26.
Yeah, and even if you're in your 30s or 40, you go, I'll be back in, if nothing's happening, I'll be back in a couple years anyway.
Sean, I would love to see you play a character where you're doing that, but you're like year 15 into your 2-year plan.
Yeah,
right? It's just never ended, and you're just still couch surfing it. That kind of actor.
Listen, I mean, I say that, but Jenna Fisher came out in her book, which is great, and she said by year 4 or 5, everybody I came with left. And I was the only one, but she was getting little things here and there. She did get her SAG card. There were tiny movements. Then she started working at year 4. I guess she started working a little bit at year 4, and then she booked The Office at year 6.
And when did she do Slither? Was that before she was in The Office?
Sure, yeah.
That was. Yeah. I think she was still married to James Gunn when she did that.
She's got that line I always loved. These bugs are driving me nuts.
So I guess last thing before you leave, do you have anything that you want to plug? Is there anything that we can?
30th anniversary of People Under the Stairs. We're hopefully going to be doing some events, either virtual for the first half of the year and hopefully more public ones later. Screenings,
that'd be awesome.
Things like that. Follow me on TikTok. It's my favorite.
Dude, you're staying relevant and I can dig it.
Yeah.
I follow, my fiance is following things about corporate business and corporate burnout and cooking and cats. And I'm following comedy stuff, some political stuff, some, you can follow whatever you want. And then comedy stuff. Sure. The funnest part about TikTok to me is the sense of humor. It's just like really good memes. You know what I mean? You just go,
sure.
Oh, there's so many more funny, creative people out there that literally may be like the guy fixing your car. But you get to see these really funny takes, the things that I think it's because it talks about the things, not how we're different, but we're all the same. Yeah. How we all get annoyed with our spouse when they do this, or how we get annoyed with our pets when they do this, or how we think it's hilarious when, you know what I mean? But it's just these universalities that I love that binds us as opposed to separate. Now you could go on there and just do political stuff that's very divisive and stuff. Well, you don't have to. You can do that's what I like about it, and I'm reaching a whole new audience. Well,
that's awesome, Sean. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, Crust gets made, and we can have you back to talk about your crusty killer personality movie later.
I am so into that idea.
Yes, and that's the tagline: is sometimes life sucks.
I love it.
Sold.
Nice.
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Sean. We appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, man, have a good day.